Hello, good morning, everybody. I wish you are safe and healthy with your loved ones. This is Dr. Mustafa Muhammad, your lecturer for the first 4 weeks, part 1. This week we are going to talk about two interesting topics again, digital business models, which is lecture number 7, and later on we are going to talk about digital business strategies. These two topics are quite related, and in both of them you will observe that in digital business you have two elements: the business system, which is the business intelligence itself, how we do a revenue model and make something profitable, and the technical side, the digital system and the information system behind it. Both of them grow together. In some cases you have more advanced tech that creates the profit, or in some other cases you have this business and revenue model that creates the innovation, and then the technology is made and tailored for this innovation. So these two elements, the business intelligence and the information system and technical side. In this lecture, lecture 7, we are going to talk about how we can come up with a model, what is a business model, and what are the key elements of digital business model. And then I'm going to talk to you about a special type of typology, which is the 4Cs. And then I'm going to take you in more details, talking about the internet models, marketplace, aggregator, information brokers, transaction broker, electronic clearing houses, and reverse auctions. Each one of these models is explained with an example from our modern life. So how can we come up with a model, or the so-called business model? I'm going to talk to you about an interesting example, and then we can apply or analyze the key stages, and then we can see how this circle, this life cycle is working for businesses. So Muhammad Yunus, he's a Nobel Prize winner. He created something called the Grameen Group. Grameen Group started with a Grameen Bank, and then Grameen Danone, Grameen Phone. Grameen Group as all control over 75% of the Bengali economy in Bangladesh. So the guy, he graduated with a PhD from America and went back to Bangladesh, and the tsunami destroyed the country at that time. So he been back and he found villagers who mainly live based on microcredit from money sharks. These money sharks utilize people's need for money, and they ask sometimes for up to 200 interest, 200 percentage interest rate, which is really huge. And they overwhelm the poor people with money, and the credit history everywhere. So the guy decided, instead of lending the poor ladies who have their kids, they need to afford their living, spend money for their kids' education and family food and other things. So he thought, instead of offering them a charity style where every pound will have just one life, 1 pound, he wanted to create many lives for each pound. So he decided to buy things in raw material and sell this raw material for the poor female villagers, and later on the profit, the net income, is split into two halves, two parts. One part is kept as retained earnings for founding and establishing Grameen Bank, and the rest will go to these villagers' pocket, so they can cover their expenses and living expenses. So he wanted to address a need towards financial inclusion. He checked the reality, how it works. These female villagers, they have the capability to turn dairy products. They create lots of handicrafted things, And then he said, okay, I'm gonna make an innovative model. Now, these tiny halves of profit margin, they created Grameen Bank, as in Grameen Group. So Grameen Group at the moment is actually owned by these poor villagers who invested on this bank long time ago. The innovation became a new service and a new product, and then it became Muhammad Yunus managed to scale it up and wide and align the design into different industries, from finance to nutrition to telecommunication, and then he extended this into far different high level of income people and middle classes, not just poor income people. And again, he been doing this in different industries to test new models and create new things. So it's mainly you started to address a need, a societal need, try to check the reality if it works, if the people would like it, embed them in the design of this service, so the innovation becomes sustainable, continuous. They own it, so they will manage to succeed with it, will encourage everybody to adopt it, and then you try to find the relevant budget and sometimes relevant sponsors and relevant partners, governments, other corporate people, to partner with you so you can extend it and scale up and wide. Business model. What are the key components of a business model then, based on our stories here? So, value proposition. Why should the customer buy from you, either a service or a product? We've been talking about financial services and financial inclusion. Why you think your retail banking service is better? Is it affordable? Is it cheaper, convenient for them? Is it about them? In terms of approvals, all of these lengthy processes that you need to go through in a bank in these developing countries could be cut short. In the second lecture for today, which is lecture 8, we're going to talk about this element of automation. So are you delivering a value proposition, a value of your service where it is more automated and more convenient? Second element, revenue model. So how can you decrease your operating cost and you still offer affordable price, while in the middle you can retain profit margin? It's quite important. You have competitors around you wherever you go, whether you deliver a service or a product. Market opportunity. Market opportunity, you need to do your market analysis. You either become an indigenous person, live with these people to see what's going on, or try to see if there is a new service that you tested in England, tested in Europe, tested in a developed context, maybe you can go and apply it in developing countries. And this design actuality gap would always be around. So when you deliver a digital business in the developed countries, it might not work as it works here. So in developing countries, you might have electricity problem, privacy problems, security issues, many other things. So the market opportunity could be different. It could be there hidden, so you need to see a hidden need and address it, or you do it a push style. So you have something that is really successful in developed context and you push it there. So it's either pull or push. Competitive environment. This is another element of your business model. Are you just trying to decrease prices against your competitors? Are you trying to see what they do and copy it, imitate it, and do it with mass scale in a cheaper element? This is another question. So who else occupies your intended market space, and what do you really do? And this leads us to the next one, competitive advantage. So do you have any natural endowment? For example, if you deliver coffee online, so you want to buy online coffee, and you operate in Brazil, So you have the highest quality Colombian, Brazilian coffee, and the point here is it high quality? Yes, if it is already the highest quality ever, so you have a natural endowment which helps you. If you are in a very advanced technological environment, you have an advantage over your competitors in the market space. Are you trying? Do you have the capacity and infrastructure to deliver something in overseas and international global space? So, for example, mobile telecoms, they already have their infrastructure. They can deliver things more competitively because they do have the tech, but they might not have the market experience. So when I said Grameen Phone, now Grameen Phone deliver Grameen credit or Grameen money transfer. So Grameen Phone, they had both of telecommunication experience and the credit and the financial experience. While when it comes here in England, let's assume O2 would deliver mobile payment and mobile microcredit service. They do have the telecommunication massive experience, but they lack the financial risk management and portfolio management skills. Market strategy. Who do you plan to promote? How do you do this? Do you know, do you have the know-how of promoting and delivering this? Are you trying to grow up, scale up, or scale wide? What is your plan to attract your target audience? Organizational development. Then, okay, so you have a value proposition, you have the revenue, you know what is your market opportunity, you could study the competitive environment and you highlighted your competitive advantage. You know, you develop the market strategy, but then internally, how would you manage your structure? So when it comes to digital business, you need a more agile way of managing your people to work from mobile places and different places. You need to be flexible. Warehousing and managing the store. How would you outsource your warehousing and inventory management skills to different people in different geographical places so they can all serve the online business that you have or the mobile commerce that you have? And then management team. What kind of experience you would ask your team to have? How you develop them as well. So how you ask them to engage in a sort of global competition and a global training so they get to be in the top leaders list. And if we apply this to Amazon, we can see how Amazon is still in the top because they've been through all of these stages. So these key components of a business model, from my modest experience, you shouldn't be so ambitious trying to maximize all of them. You might start with, a sort of low profile for all of them and you have amazing value proposition. Or maybe same value proposition but the revenue model is different. So maybe you try to develop one at the time, one of these elements at the time, and then you can have sort of innovative business model later on within 5 to 10 years. So now we studied these two elements, two activities of our agenda. We've spoken about how a business model comes about, and we give two examples of M-Pesa and the Grameen Group, and then we've spoken about what are the key elements of a business model. Now when you read the core readings, or feel free to go and visit the recommended readings, or just Google it, go to Google Scholar and find typology for business models, especially digital business models. And you'll find many of them. But in this lecture, I prefer to have this 4C typology. The first type, which is content-based website or digital business model, where the firm or the company has an intelligent way to collect, select, and compile and distribute data and present them online. And in doing so, they provide convenient, user-friendly access to this type of information, and you as a user, whether you are end user or a business user, you go and try to use this service. Their profit, the revenue model will come from commercials. So other businesses who wants to sell, who wants to get famous, who wants to get their products and services rated in the website, so they go and pay per use subscription to get listed. Okay, a good example of this is definitely GoCompare. So GoCompare is a very rich website where you can find things about almost everything. And definitely there are other types. This content type of digital business relies more on analytics, and we've spoken about these elements of marketing analytics and digital business analytics. I'm going to revisit this again in lecture 8, so you bear with me and we will find this in more details again. Okay, so the second type then, so the first type is content, the second type is commerce, where there are websites and mobile apps and different digital business models where the owners and firms initiate, negotiate, and fulfill online transactions. So their main concern here is to enable you to conduct the transaction safely, efficiently, and affordably. This is not just something like Western Union. No, this is something, for example, like eBay. So eBay guarantees that whatever happens, you still have the right to return, and no money will be deducted from your bank account unless you are happy with your product or your service that you received. The providers on the other side, they get a sort of commission. So in eBay, in Amazon, similar to this as well, they get listing fees, they get commission from whatever sales revenues is done. So it's mainly how to help people conduct a transaction and sell more. This is the commerce type of digital business model or internet business model. Context. Now, in this one, in this type, it helps, so firms develop these internet websites and business models to sort, aggregate available online information. So they categorize information into automotive, for example, fast-moving consumer goods, electrical, consumer electronics. They group things into different contexts, into different market segment. And what they do again is that they gain money from whoever wants to commercialize or put some advertising. And the end user go and pay for the service as well. A good example is Alibaba, definitely. Alibaba is one of these good examples about it. The last type, or the fourth type of internet business models, connection. So these websites are offered by firms that provide physical and virtual network infrastructure. So they do have the infrastructure, they have their own cloud-based, and what they do here is enable prerequisite information or prerequisite platforms for exchanging information over the internet. So, for example, Salesforce, iCloud, all these cloud-based services, they help service providers to exchange data about their products to the buyers. Okay, and in doing so, these providers, these internet business models, get online advertising and collect subscription based on the time and the volume of these commercials on their websites or on their platforms. So we've been through how we can come about business model, what are the key elements of business model, typology of business model based on 4 C's: content, commerce, context, connection. Now we are going to go ahead in details and talk about these specific models of digital business. Internet models, so you have a website where you have a virtual storefront, a virtual land, like Amazon, for example. This aims at selling physical goods and services online instead of depending on physical stores and retail outlets. So delivery of non-digital goods and services take place through traditional means. However, they also have digital elements that could be sold directly on the website. So you can buy a digital book, okay, and you can still buy a hard copy book. So Amazon is one of these internet models. Now I'm going to give you another example from my own experience. I had this project in United Arab Emirates, and they've been trying to develop a sort of a mall, a big mall, and I was part of this team where we need to find a layout occupation plan. So we need to decide who is going to buy this space, and my role was to attract big, fast-moving consumer goods and retails, grocery retails like Tesco, like Asda, and Morrison, Sainsbury, to this mall out there in Abu Dhabi, in the capital city of United Arab Emirates. And after 1 week of approaching different retailers, the key answer was, okay, we are sorry that during the pandemic, we are more keen about warehousing because we deliver things online much more for hygiene reasons and shelf life management reasons, supply chain difficulties. We prefer to have 5 warehouses instead of having one physical store interface with customers, because this will cost us almost equal or maybe more than 5 warehouses. So this tells you how important are these internet models and the virtual storefronts. Amazon, for example, you can go and develop your own Z-shop, and you can compete with Amazon itself. So you can sell whatever service or product. You can even sell education and training by developing CDs and MP4 contents, and this can be sold somewhere else. And definitely with a copyright and licensing things. So this is the first example, the first type of models, internet models. The second type of internet models is marketplace aggregator. And from the name you can tell it's something like GoCompare.com. So it concentrates information about products and services from multiple providers at one central platform, and it tells you who is good in what, and you have filtering elements as the buyer can search, compare, and sometimes be able to conduct the transaction. GoCompare and Kelco are quite famous examples of these things, of these types of platforms. So I urge all of you to go and try to see how these things work. If you are from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, you might have different websites that gives you this market aggregator, so you can see the whole world around you with a click of a button. GoCompare you can find from car insurance, utility bills, furniture, family appliances, almost everything. Information broker is the third type. So we had internet models, market aggregators, and then information brokers. And from the title, again, it reflects this type of digital business where you have access to the maximum amount of information. It might not really help you to conduct transactions, but sometimes these platforms helps you to have minor transactions, not bulk transactions in big amounts of money. So the primary objective is to provide product pricing and availability information, including the lead time, delivery time. It doesn't tell you how other competitors deliver this. If you can find this in a different language, no, it doesn't tell you this. But it might help you sometimes to facilitate minor transactions. eBay, for example, is an information broker where you can go and see rating for suppliers everything about suppliers, but then it takes you to the supplier shop, him or herself, to see how they do things, the reviews. So it doesn't do the transaction itself, but it helps you, it gives you the right link to go ahead and conduct the transaction according to the menu, the listing of the retail which is listed in eBay. But it doesn't reflect the quality of eBay. And this is the difference between Amazon and eBay as information broker. Because Amazon itself guarantees the quality. They check the quality of each product. Okay, now we are talking about a transaction broker. This is another type of digital business model where it enhances this intermediary role of the digital business owner. So you, for example, develop this platform that helps buyers to be viewed. So buyers have a viewable facility to review rates and terms. You can get to know about everything about the buyer through this website. So if it is me developing a website, I had one of these in Rare Bank Diamond. It's called Rare Bank, and the website tells you if you want to have your customized diamond ring, how you can get the body of the ring, the diamond rocket, from where it tells you about the suppliers, and it helps you much more to rate them. And if you wanna outsource, if you wanna have a long-term contract, then I will take a commission. So you pay listing fees, you get to know about them, but if you wanted to conduct a transaction, I will take a commission in between. And then my bank account will keep growing up without doing lots of efforts. This is what's called a broker. So this is transaction broker. Primary business activity concerns the completion of the transaction. A recent example of this, Bitcoin mining. So Bitcoin mining, it helps you to buy different types of coins, of Bitcoins. It tells you the current rate. If there are bulks like blockchains, would you join one of them? But the most important thing is that this mining platform takes a special commission, a specific fixed commission from each transaction. Auto trade is another example. So you can go and put the plate number of your car and get to know about different suppliers of second-hand and the new cars, and then the website itself and the owners of the website, they wouldn't earn something until you conduct the transaction through the website. Electronic clearing houses, where you have these clearing houses are mainly led by end users. So it offers auction-like setting of products where prices and availability are constantly changing. The community keep telling you offer of supplier and offer of a buyer. Some of these changes might be driven by customer actions. So the customers, for example, if we talk about this community development, you want to build a house, or you and a group of people want to build a building which includes maybe 20 floors. You offer a budget, and the constructor offers you their budget, and you keep negotiating in a daily basis until you find a good match, and then you go ahead with the contracting things. Community development is one of these famous websites in America. Go and visit it and you will see what I'm talking about here. Another type of digital business model is called the reverse auction, where frankly consumers submit a bid to multiple sellers to buy goods or services. So these consumers might submit a sort of request for specifications, so they need something to be done in their houses, in the buildings around them, something to be done for their own like website development, any sort of activities. And they go to these platforms and ask for somebody who can do this, and they put their own budget. But then the agent of the company mediates, you as a developer of this website, mediates between the consumers and the sellers of goods, and you try to take a commission out of it. Okay? The buyer drives pricing then. But if we go to housing clearing, the clearing houses, it's mutual. So sometimes the seller is moving the price and moving the offer, or the buyer. But in here, in reverse auction, it's mainly the buyer who's trying to give less prices until, you know, if the seller is happy, he or she need to take this deal as soon as possible. So this is how it works. Cost and the time. So the price started by the seller, and then the buyer keep putting some, you know, prices until the lower bid win what's going on, bid wins the deal, because he or she could manage to get what he or she needs with the lowest price possible. Okay, so now in this lecture, which is lecture number 7, we've spoken about how we can come up with a business model. Very interesting topic, and we had these 2 examples from M-Pesa and the Grameen Group, and then we've been through what are the key elements of a business model, and then a typology of a business model based on 4 C's. We've been to different types of detailed digital business models, internet models, market aggregators, transaction broker, until we had the reverse auction. So guys, this is a reading list, which is already available on Blackboard as well, and the library database. I'm glad that I already received some inquiries from you guys asking about jobs development and how you can get, you know, better jobs, and how you can get more training about analytics and other things. So keep communicating with me. This is lovely to find keen audience who are keen to learn much more, and see you again today in lecture 8, and you have a good day.